The sun of Viridion 7 hung low in the sky, casting a golden glow across the ceremonial grounds. Strange, crystalline towers rose around the arena, reflecting light in sharp, dazzling patterns. The air was thick with anticipation, a mixture of excitement and doubt. Aliens of every shape and color gathered in the stands, their eyes focused on the center where the human delegation had just arrived. Among them, the alien woman, Lyria, adjusted the silver collar of her ceremonial robes, her eyes narrowing in careful scrutiny. She had been to many planetary gatherings, seen countless species, yet the humans always seemed ordinary, fragile, weak. Her gaze fell on the human delegation as they stepped into the arena. The humans moved with cautious confidence, aware of their outsider status. Lyria noticed Captain Marcus Hale immediately. He walked taller than most humans she had observed, his shoulders broad, his posture commanding attention without arrogance. There was a calmness about him, a quiet certainty that seemed out of place in a species usually considered fragile. His eyes, dark and sharp, scanned the crowd, taking in the alien audience and the alien warriors with careful, measured calculation. The aliens whispered among themselves. "They are soft," one said. "Their bones will break like glass," another murmured. Yet Marcus moved as if he could hear nothing. He carried no visible weapons, only his standard uniform and a small utility device at his belt, a device that seemed more symbolic than threatening. The ceremonial leader, an enormous alien named Threx, stepped forward. His voice boomed across the arena, a deep vibration that shook the ground. "Today, we witness a demonstration of skill, a duel of strength and intelligence. Who among you will accept the challenge of Korath, champion of Viridion 7? The crowd turned to the massive alien warrior in the center of the arena. Korath was terrifying, even at a glance. His body was covered in dense, chitinous armor, and his eyes glowed a bright red that seemed to pierce into the soul. His claws were sharp enough to slice through steel, and his movements had the precision of a predator. The aliens murmured again, certain that any human who dared face him would be destroyed in seconds. Marcus stepped forward. The crowd gasped. Lyria blinked, unsure if her eyes were deceiving her. The human walked calmly, his pace steady, eyes locked on Korath. He did not tremble. He did not falter. He simply walked, as if the duel had been expected all along. Threx's voice thundered again. "The human dares approach. Does he not fear death? When have accompanies?" Marcus raised his hand slightly. "I do not seek death," he said in a firm voice that carried across the arena. "I seek to prove that strength is not only in muscle, but in mind and courage." The alien whispers intensified. A human had spoken of courage? In their culture, courage was nothing without power, nothing without the ability to dominate. Lyria felt a flicker of curiosity. She had never heard a human speak in this way before. Korath stepped forward, his heavy footsteps cracking the stone beneath him. He towered over Marcus, and for a moment, the human seemed almost insignificant. Yet Marcus did not back down. He adjusted his stance, lowering his center of gravity slightly, preparing himself. His hands were relaxed, but his eyes never left Korath. Every movement, every breath, seemed deliberate. The duel began with a simple signal, a bright flash of light from the ceremonial tower. Korath lunged first, his claws slashing through the air with terrifying speed. Marcus moved instinctively, dodging the strike by a fraction of a second, his body bending with precision. The alien's strength was overwhelming, but Marcus's agility allowed him to avoid the deadly blows. Lyria watched, captivated. She had expected a quick human failure, a brief moment of struggle, followed by Korath's victory. Instead, she saw something entirely unexpected. Marcus did not just dodge. He observed, calculated, learned. Each strike from Korath was met with a counter. Each movement from the alien was analyzed and anticipated. Marcus stepped forward, closing the distance. He did not attack blindly. He used Korath's momentum against him, sidestepping at the perfect moment to avoid a crushing blow. When Korath overextended, Marcus pushed him just enough to unbalance him. A subtle movement that required timing, precision, and courage. The alien stumbled slightly. A minor shift, but it was enough to make the crowd gasp. Lyria's heart raced. She had trained with warriors who could predict movements before they happened, yet this human seemed to do it with instinct alone. There was no fear in him, no hesitation, only focus, only resolve. Korath roared, frustration echoing in the arena, and attacked again, this time faster, more unpredictable. Marcus responded with equal speed, ducking, twisting, and even using the environment to his advantage. He kicked a loose stone, sending it sliding toward Korath's feet, causing the alien to slip slightly. Every move Marcus made was calculated, turning what seemed like weakness into a weapon. The spectators, initially sure of a human defeat, now whispered in awe. Even the aliens known for their stoicism showed surprise. A human had done what no one expected. Marcus was not merely surviving. He was controlling the duel, shaping it with intelligence, creativity, and courage. Lyria's mind raced. She had always believed humans were fragile, unfit for combat against her people. Yet here stood one who defied every expectation, not by strength alone, but by using his mind, his intuition, and his will. She leaned forward, captivated, unable to look away. Korath, sensing the shift in momentum, became more aggressive. His attacks were relentless, and Marcus had to move faster, think faster. Yet the human's expression remained calm, almost serene. He was not panicked. He was not desperate. He was adapting, evolving with every strike, turning the duel into a dance of strategy and instinct. The duel reached its climax as Korath attempted a powerful overhead strike. Marcus anticipated the move, ducked at the perfect moment, and used his own momentum to push Korath off balance. The alien fell hard, a sound of impact that echoed through the arena. For a moment, there was silence. Then the crowd erupted, some in shock, some in admiration. The impossible had happened. A human had bested Korath, the mightiest champion of Viridian 7. Lyria felt a mix of emotions: astonishment, admiration, and a strange sense of respect. She had believed humans to be weak, insignificant, and fragile. But now, standing in the glow of the Viridian sun, she saw a truth that challenged everything she thought she knew. Humans were more than their bodies. They were cunning, creative, and resilient. They could turn disadvantage into advantage, weakness into strength. Marcus extended his hand to help Korath rise. The gesture was unexpected, a human act of respect toward a fallen opponent. Korath hesitated, then accepted it, his glowing eyes flickering with a mixture of pride and disbelief. The arena, once filled with doubt, now buzzed with admiration. As Marcus stood in the center, catching his breath, he looked toward the stands where Lyria watched. Their eyes met for a brief moment, and in that instant, she saw not only his strength but the essence of humanity itself: courage, intelligence, and the unyielding spirit to face the impossible. The humans, who had once been underestimated and dismissed, now commanded the attention and respect of the entire audience. It was more than a victory in combat. It was a demonstration of what humans could achieve when they combined mind, heart, and determination. Lyria, who had arrived expecting to see weakness, found herself captivated by human potential. She knew that this duel was only the beginning. There was much to learn, much to understand, and perhaps much to admire. As the crowd dispersed, still buzzing with excitement, Marcus returned to his team, calm and composed. He had proven his point, not with anger or arrogance, but with intelligence and courage. And in the stands, Lyria remained, her thoughts racing, her heart quietly awed by a human who had defied expectation and astonished an alien world. The story of this duel would spread across Viridian 7 and beyond. It would challenge perceptions, inspire admiration, and mark the beginning of a new era of respect for humans. And for Lyria, it would be a lesson she would never forget. Never underestimate the power of the human spirit. The morning after the duel, Viridian 7 was alive with a buzz that no one could ignore. Word of the human victory over Korath had spread like wildfire, reaching every corner of the planet. Merchants, scholars, warriors, and diplomats all spoke of it in hushed tones and excited whispers. Even those who had been skeptical of humans were now forced to reconsider their assumptions. Among them, Lyria moved through the busy streets of the capital city, her mind replaying every moment of the duel. She could not shake the image of Marcus Hale. Calm, precise, and unyielding, facing a champion who had seemed unstoppable. Lyria had spent centuries studying different species across the galaxy. She had learned to recognize strength, cunning, and intelligence. Yet this human had shown her something entirely new. The combination of courage, adaptability, and insight. She had expected him to rely on sheer luck or quick reflexes, but Marcus had done far more. He had thought, observed, and adjusted in a way that no alien could predict. She arrived at the training grounds, where humans were now allowed to practice alongside aliens. The human delegation had been invited to demonstrate their skills, not for combat alone, but to share their methods of problem-solving and strategy. Lyria watched as Marcus led a small group of young aliens through a series of exercises. He spoke calmly, clearly, and with authority that demanded attention without intimidation. His instructions were simple yet precise, emphasizing observation, patience, and the use of the environment to gain an advantage. The young aliens struggled at first. They were strong and fast, but they had always relied on brute force. Marcus showed them how to anticipate movements, use misdirection, and turn their own strengths against themselves. Step by step, they improved. Lyria could see the doubt in their eyes giving way to admiration. The humans were not just fighting, they were teaching, showing the value of intelligence over sheer power. After the exercises, Marcus and Lyria walked along a narrow pathway overlooking the city. The sunlight glinted off the crystalline towers, making them appear almost alive. Lyria had been careful in her approach. She wanted answers, but she also wanted to understand the essence of this human species that had defied every expectation. "You were incredible yesterday," she said finally, her voice quiet but steady. "I have seen warriors fight. I have seen champions fall. But I have never seen someone fight with such insight. How do you do it?" Marcus smiled faintly. "I don't know if it's something I can explain," he said. "It's a combination of awareness, observation, and willingness to take calculated risks. Humans may not be the strongest, but we can think, adapt, and persevere. That often gives us an advantage over sheer power." Lyria nodded slowly, considering his words. She had always thought of strength as a measure of physical might, but perhaps she had underestimated other forms of power. She wanted to believe there was more to humans, something beyond instinct and reaction. Marcus's words suggested there was. The day passed quickly. Lyria returned to her quarters, reviewing the footage of the duel and Marcus's interactions with the young aliens. Every frame showed the same thing. Humans were creative, adaptive, and fearless when necessary. They had a way of observing patterns, predicting outcomes, and using limited resources to their advantage. It was not just intelligence, it was a combination of courage, resourcefulness, and persistence that created results no one expected. As evening approached, Lyria was summoned to a council meeting with other alien leaders. The room was filled with tension. Many of the elders still could not reconcile the idea that a human had bested Korath. Some viewed it as an anomaly, a fluke, but others were concerned about what it meant for interstellar relations. One elder spoke first. "This is unacceptable. Humans cannot be allowed to gain such influence. They are weak, untested, and unpredictable. How can we trust them with trade or alliances?" Another responded, his tone more measured. "Perhaps we have underestimated them. The duel yesterday demonstrated abilities we did not expect. We should observe and understand before making decisions. They may have qualities we can learn from, or even benefit from in our alliances." Lyria listened carefully. Her own thoughts aligned with the second perspective. Humans were more than their appearances suggested. They were intelligent, brave, and capable of achieving the impossible. Marcus had shown her a glimpse of their potential, and she was eager to see more. Later that evening, Marcus returned to the human delegation quarters. He was greeted with applause and congratulations from his team, but he remained humble. "We didn't do anything special," he said. "We just approached the situation differently. We used what we had: our minds, our instincts, and our courage. That's all any human can do." One of the delegation members, a young navigator named Elise, shook her head. "You were amazing, Marcus. You didn't just win. You changed how everyone sees us. The aliens will never forget this." Marcus shrugged. "It's not about changing anyone's opinion. It's about doing what is necessary and showing that humans are capable. The rest is up to them." Meanwhile, Lyria quietly observed. She had followed Marcus's movements throughout the day, noting his interactions, his leadership, and his patience. She had expected arrogance or boastfulness, but there was none. Instead, she saw humility, clarity, and a deep understanding of human potential. She realized that humans did not seek to dominate through fear. They sought to excel through thought and action. The next morning, Marcus was called back to the arena for a demonstration of strategy, this time not against a single opponent, but in a scenario designed by the Council. The aliens had constructed a complex simulation with moving obstacles, unpredictable hazards, and multiple adversaries. Most species would rely on power or overwhelming force to succeed. But Marcus approached it differently. He studied the environment, observed patterns, and anticipated the outcomes of each obstacle. With careful steps, calculated risks, and quick thinking, Marcus navigated the simulation flawlessly. The aliens watching were astounded. Many had trained for decades and still could not achieve what a single human had accomplished. Lyria's eyes followed every move, her admiration growing. She could not deny it any longer. Humans were remarkable in ways that went far beyond physical strength. They were adaptable, clever, and resilient. After the demonstration, Lyria approached Marcus once more. "I do not understand how you manage to remain so calm under pressure," she said. "The challenges here are designed to overwhelm even the most experienced of my people. Yet you approach them with a clarity I cannot explain." Marcus smiled. "We call it focus. Humans learn to trust their instincts and prepare for what they can control. Fear exists, but it does not control us. We use it to sharpen our senses and decisions. That is what makes the difference." Lyria nodded, realizing that she had witnessed not just a duel, but the essence of what made humans special. Their strength was not in muscle or size, it was in their ability to combine intellect, observation, courage, and persistence. They could turn disadvantages into advantages, weaknesses into opportunities, and unpredictability into a weapon. Over the next few days, the human delegation gained more respect than any other species had ever received on Viridian 7. Traders approached them for advice, scholars requested discussions, and even warriors sought to learn from their methods. Marcus remained patient, teaching where he could, leading where necessary, and always demonstrating the qualities that had astonished Lyria from the start. At night, when the city was quiet, Lyria would return to her quarters and reflect on the events of the day. She reviewed the footage of Marcus, replayed his movements, and considered his words. She began to see patterns, not just in his strategy, but in human behavior. Humans were not predictable, they were adaptable, curious, and willing to take risks for greater rewards. They valued courage, ingenuity, and collaboration over sheer dominance. Lyria realized that this duel, which had seemed a simple contest of skill, was only the beginning. Humans were more than a curiosity, they were a force of potential. She wondered how many other surprises this species might hold, and how much the galaxy had yet to learn from them. As she drifted to sleep that night, she felt a sense of excitement she had not experienced in decades. For the first time, she looked forward to observing humans, not with skepticism or doubt, but with anticipation. There was much to learn, much to admire, and perhaps much to respect. Meanwhile, Marcus and his team prepared for the next phase of their mission. They would explore trade negotiations, cultural exchanges, and interstellar diplomacy. But the duel had already changed everything. Humans were no longer seen as weak or insignificant. They were seen as clever, capable, and full of untapped potential. The impact of one duel had rippled through an entire world. Lyria, once a skeptic, now became a student of human potential. Eager to understand what made them capable of achieving the extraordinary, she realized that this was only the beginning of a story that would challenge perceptions, inspire respect, and redefine the place of humanity in the galaxy. The days following Marcus's victory over Korath brought a change across Viridian 7 that no one could ignore. Humans, once dismissed as weak and fragile, were now subjects of fascination. Scholars, warriors, and even the planet's leaders were curious to learn more about them. Marcus's duel had not only proven human skill but had shifted perceptions entirely. Among those most affected was Lyria, the alien woman who had witnessed the duel firsthand. She could no longer see humans as ordinary. She had come to see them as capable, adaptable, and unexpectedly brilliant. Lyria spent hours observing the humans, noting their methods, habits, and interactions. They were disciplined, but not rigid, clever, but not arrogant. Marcus, in particular, impressed her with his ability to lead without dominating, to teach without belittling. He had an air of calm authority that drew respect naturally. Unlike many alien leaders, he did not demand obedience through fear or force. Instead, he inspired it through competence, empathy, and understanding. One morning, Marcus was called to a council meeting with the leaders of Viridian 7. The chamber was vast, circular, and filled with representatives from every sector of the planet. Tall, armored warriors stood beside delicate, shimmering scholars, their eyes reflecting curiosity and caution. Lyria accompanied Marcus, walking silently beside him. She had insisted on attending, wanting to see how he navigated diplomacy as she had seen him navigate combat. The council chamber buzzed with tension. Many leaders had reservations about humans, unsure whether they could trust a species so different from their own. Some still remembered the humans as weak, fragile creatures, while others had begun to admire them. The duel had sparked both fear and hope. Threx, the ceremonial leader, spoke first. "Humans have demonstrated unexpected skill and resilience," he said. "Captain Marcus Hale has bested our greatest warrior in single combat, a feat that none believed possible. But this raises questions. Are humans capable of more than what we have seen? Can they contribute meaningfully to our society, or are they simply lucky?" Marcus listened calmly. "We are not lucky," he said. His voice carried across the chamber with quiet confidence. "Humans are capable because we learn, adapt, and persevere. We face challenges not by ignoring them, but by understanding them, planning for them, and acting with courage. We may not be the strongest physically, but we make up for it with creativity, intelligence, and determination." Murmurs spread across the council. Some leaders nodded thoughtfully, while others frowned, unconvinced. Lyria noticed that even the skeptics were paying attention, their expressions betraying curiosity. An elder spoke next, his voice measured and careful. "Humans may have intelligence, but intelligence alone cannot ensure survival. Strength, strategy, and unity are equally important. How can we trust that your people will act in ways that benefit Viridian 7 and not harm it?" Marcus met the elder's gaze steadily. "Humans value collaboration and understanding," he said. "We are willing to learn from others, and we expect others to learn from us. Our goal is not to dominate or destroy, but to contribute. We believe that the best results come from combining knowledge, skill, and cooperation." Lyria observed silently, impressed by Marcus's ability to remain composed under scrutiny. The council had been wary, and many expected conflict or defensive posturing. Instead, Marcus addressed their concerns with clarity, honesty, and respect. He did not seek to win them over with arrogance, but through reason and demonstration of competence. After the meeting, Marcus was invited to observe a training exercise with a group of alien youth. These young warriors had been curious about humans ever since the duel. They wanted to understand how a human could achieve what they thought impossible. Marcus accepted, walking to the training grounds with his calm, deliberate steps. Lyria followed, eager to see how he would interact with the next generation of alien warriors. The young aliens were strong and fast, but their thinking was limited by tradition. They relied on brute force, assuming that raw strength would solve most problems. Marcus began with simple exercises, focusing on awareness, observation, and adaptability. He asked them to anticipate movements, predict outcomes, and use their surroundings to their advantage. At first, the exercises were challenging, and the young warriors struggled. Marcus remained patient, guiding them without criticism. He demonstrated techniques slowly, showing how a small, clever action could achieve what sheer force could not. He encouraged them to experiment, to learn from mistakes, and to trust their instincts. Step by step, the young aliens began to understand. They moved with more precision, thought before acting, and began to appreciate the value of strategy over raw power. Lyria watched in quiet amazement. She had always assumed humans succeeded through luck or resilience alone. But she now saw the deeper truth. Humans combined courage, intellect, and creativity to overcome challenges. They transformed limitations into advantages, weaknesses into tools. Marcus was not just demonstrating skill, he was teaching a philosophy of problem-solving that the aliens had never encountered. That evening, Lyria approached Marcus as he reviewed the day's exercises. "Your methods are remarkable," she said. "I have studied warriors across galaxies. Yet I have never seen teaching done in this way. How do you inspire respect without commanding it?" Marcus smiled faintly. "It's simple," he said. "We humans lead by example. We show what is possible, and then we encourage others to achieve it. We do not demand obedience through fear or power. We build trust through action, patience, and understanding." Lyria nodded, realizing that this approach explained much about human success. Their strength was not just physical or strategic, it was moral and intellectual. It was their ability to combine insight, courage, and determination that made them formidable. In the following weeks, Marcus's influence grew. Alien leaders consulted him on strategy. Scholars asked for his insights on human thinking, and young warriors sought mentorship. The duel had opened doors that no negotiation or demonstration could have achieved. Humans were no longer seen as weak or irrelevant. They were respected, admired, and increasingly trusted. Lyria spent more time observing Marcus, fascinated by the way he approached every situation. He did not seek attention or recognition. He did not boast or dominate. Instead, he acted with calm confidence, analyzing problems, adapting to circumstances, and guiding others without imposing his will. His actions revealed a philosophy that valued intelligence, collaboration, and courage above all else. One evening, a crisis arose that tested Marcus's abilities in a new way. A sudden energy storm threatened one of the outer colonies of Viridian 7. The storm's intensity was unpredictable, and the colony's defenses were inadequate. Alien leaders panicked, unsure how to protect the population. Marcus stepped forward, volunteering to coordinate the response. He analyzed the colony's layout, the available resources, and the behavior of the storm. He devised a plan that combined strategy, technology, and teamwork. Humans and aliens worked side by side, following Marcus's guidance. The storm raged, but the combined effort minimized damage and ensured the safety of the colony. Lyria watched from the command center, astonished. Marcus had not only succeeded in a duel, he had demonstrated leadership, strategy, and problem-solving on a scale that affected thousands of lives. He had shown that human ingenuity was not limited to combat, it extended to all areas of life, from diplomacy to crisis management. After the storm passed, the Alien Council convened once more. They were no longer skeptical. They had witnessed humans acting with intelligence, courage, and adaptability. They had seen results that could not be denied. Lyria spoke on their behalf, praising Marcus and his team for their efforts and insights. Humans are not weak or fragile, she said. They possess a combination of qualities that make them remarkable. Intelligence, courage, adaptability, and the willingness to learn from every challenge. We have much to learn from them, and perhaps much to admire. The council listened, some nodding in agreement, others silent but thoughtful. The perception of humans had shifted irrevocably. No longer underestimated, they had become a symbol of potential, a reminder that appearances could be deceiving, and that strength came in many forms. In the quiet moments that followed, Marcus and Lyria walked along a balcony overlooking the city. The sun had set, casting long shadows across the crystalline towers. Lyria spoke softly. I underestimated humans, she admitted. I thought you were weak. I thought you were fragile. But you have shown me that your strength lies in more than your body. It lies in your mind, your courage, and your spirit. Marcus looked at her, his expression calm. But humans have a way of turning limitations into opportunities. We face challenges because we have to, and we learn to adapt because we must. It is not about being the strongest, it is about being persistent, clever, and willing to try when others would give up. Lyria nodded, understanding now what she had only glimpsed during the duel. Humans were unpredictable, resourceful, and resilient. They inspired respect not through domination, but through capability. Their strength was not just in what they could do alone, but in what they could accomplish together, with others, and against the impossible. As night fell over Viridian 7, the city glowed with lights that reflected off the towers, like stars fallen to the ground. Humans and aliens alike began to recognize a new reality. The duel had been more than a contest. It had been the beginning of a story that would change perceptions, inspire cooperation, and redefine the place of humanity in the galaxy. Lyria knew that this was only the beginning. Marcus's influence would continue to grow, and humans would continue to surprise, inspire, and astonish. They were no longer merely a species to observe, they were a species to respect, to learn from, and perhaps, to admire. And somewhere deep within her, Lyria felt a sense of anticipation. The future was uncertain, as it always was, but she knew one thing for certain. Humans had proven that they were capable of greatness, and the galaxy would never see them the same way again. Months had passed since the duel that had astonished Lyria and all of Viridian 7. Humans were no longer seen as fragile outsiders. Their presence on the planet had shifted perceptions entirely. Marcus Hale and his team had become symbols of intelligence, courage, and adaptability. Stories of the duel and subsequent achievements spread across colonies, inspiring not only aliens but also humans, who had begun to see themselves differently in the galaxy. Lyria walked along the main plaza of the capital city, observing the daily bustle. Humans moved confidently among alien citizens, exchanging ideas, strategies, and stories. They were no longer merely observers, they were collaborators, teachers, and problem solvers. Lyria's thoughts lingered on the lessons she had learned from Marcus. Strength was not always visible. Power was not always measured by muscle or size. Humans demonstrated that courage, creativity, and intelligence could accomplish the impossible. A new challenge approached. Scouts reported a massive cosmic storm forming near the edge of the system, threatening multiple colonies. Its energy signature was unlike anything Viridian 7 had encountered before. Alien scientists and leaders panicked, unsure how to handle the unprecedented danger. The storm could devastate settlements, destroy resources, and endanger lives. It required immediate action and careful coordination. Marcus immediately volunteered to lead the response team. He did not hesitate, nor did he allow fear to cloud his judgment. Lyria accompanied him, eager to observe once more the human capacity to confront danger. The storm's magnitude was daunting. Waves of energy arcs danced across the sky, accompanied by violent magnetic fluctuations that could disrupt communications and energy shields. Most aliens would have retreated in fear. Humans did not. Marcus organized teams of humans and aliens, assigning roles based on each species' strengths. Humans worked alongside aliens who were stronger or faster, combining their skills with innovative strategies. Marcus analyzed the storm, studying its patterns and predicting where the strongest energy surges would strike. He devised plans that allowed teams to divert, shield, and repair infrastructure while maintaining safety. As the storm hit, chaos threatened to overwhelm the colonies. But Marcus remained calm. He moved between teams, giving instructions, encouraging effort, and adjusting strategies as conditions changed. Humans and aliens responded to his leadership, trusting his judgment. Lyria watched closely, noting how humans thrived under pressure. They did not panic or despair. They adapted, thinking creatively, and used every available resource to protect the colonies. At one point, a powerful surge threatened to breach the main energy grid of a settlement. Alien engineers scrambled, unsure how to handle it. Marcus quickly analyzed the situation and proposed a solution. Using human-designed energy redirection devices, combined with alien shielding technology, they diverted the surge safely. The plan required precision, timing, and teamwork. The execution was flawless. Disaster was avoided, and the settlement remained intact. The storm raged for hours, testing every team's limits. Humans and aliens worked side by side, learning from each other, adapting to changing conditions, and overcoming obstacles that had seemed insurmountable. Lyria observed Marcus coordinating efforts, making adjustments, and demonstrating ingenuity that inspired confidence in everyone. By nightfall, the storm had passed. Damage was minimal, and no lives were lost, a result many had thought impossible. The aftermath brought celebration. Colonies were grateful, leaders praised Marcus and his team, and aliens who had once doubted humans now regarded them with admiration and respect. Lyria herself could not hide her amazement. The human capacity to think, adapt, and act under pressure had saved countless lives. They had turned what could have been a disaster into a demonstration of capability, courage, and leadership. In the council meeting that followed, Lyria spoke on behalf of the assembly. Humans are remarkable. They have demonstrated not only intelligence and courage, but also the ability to unite diverse species in the face of danger. They have saved lives through creativity, adaptability, and unwavering determination. We have underestimated them for too long. It is time we recognize their true potential and honor their contributions. The council erupted into agreement. Discussions shifted from skepticism to collaboration. Humans were invited to contribute to planning, governance, and education across Viridian 7. They were no longer outsiders. They had become essential partners in the future of the planet. Marcus, however, remained humble. He continued to focus on teamwork, teaching, and collaboration rather than personal recognition. He worked closely with alien leaders, sharing strategies and insights, demonstrating that the strength of humanity lay not just in one individual, but in the willingness to cooperate, learn, and persevere. Lyria spent more time with Marcus, asking questions about human philosophy, values, and methods. She learned that humans were driven by curiosity, empathy, and a desire to improve not for recognition, but for purpose. Humans faced challenges because they had to, but they embraced them with creativity and courage, often achieving results that others deemed impossible. One evening, Marcus and Lyria observed a group of young aliens practicing new techniques inspired by human methods. The aliens moved with confidence and adaptability, their skills enhanced by lessons they had learned from humans. Marcus watched with quiet satisfaction. He had not only won a duel or saved colonies, he had inspired a new generation to think differently, to innovate, and to believe in their own potential. Lyria spoke softly beside him. The duel you fought, Marcus, was only the beginning. You have changed perceptions, inspired generations, and shown that humans can achieve greatness even where others fail. You have proven that strength is not only in power, but in mind, spirit, and courage. Marcus smiled. We all learn from each other. Humans have strengths, but so do aliens. Together, we can accomplish more than any one species alone. That is the true measure of potential. The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a transmission. A nearby planetary system had reported an unusual phenomenon, a massive cluster of unstable asteroids heading toward inhabited colonies. Scientists predicted that the impact could be catastrophic. Lyria looked at Marcus, concern evident in her eyes. Marcus's expression remained calm. We will handle it, he said. We faced the storm together. And we can face this as well. We plan, we act, and we adapt. That is all we can do. And it is enough. Over the next days, Marcus coordinated teams of humans and aliens to intercept the asteroid cluster. Using a combination of human ingenuity, alien technology, and careful strategy, they diverted the asteroid's trajectory, minimizing risk to populated areas. Once again, humans had turned what seemed impossible into a successful mission. The results solidified the humans' reputation across the galaxy. Stories of the duel, the storm, and the asteroid mission spread to neighboring systems. Humans were now regarded not only as capable warriors, but as brilliant problem solvers, courageous leaders, and trustworthy allies. Lyria, who had once doubted them, now championed human potential wherever she went. In quiet moments, Marcus reflected on the journey. The duel had been a challenge, yes, but it had sparked a series of events that changed the way humans were seen in the galaxy. They had proven their value through courage, intelligence, and collaboration. They had inspired respect not by dominating others, but by showing what could be achieved when one faced challenges with ingenuity and determination. Lyria approached him one evening as he watched the sunset from the top of a crystalline tower. Marcus, she said, I once believed humans were weak, fragile, and incapable of greatness. You have shown me that my assumptions were wrong. You have taught me that strength comes in many forms, through courage, creativity, and perseverance. You have proven that humans are a species worthy of admiration and respect. Marcus turned to her, his eyes calm but serious. We are not perfect, he said. We have limits, but we also have a way of overcoming them. That is what makes us human. We do not rely solely on strength, nor do we give up when faced with challenges. We learn, adapt, and persist. That is our true strength. Lyria smiled, understanding fully now the lesson he had demonstrated over and over. The humans' duel with Korath had been the first step, but their actions since had revealed a deeper truth. Human potential was boundless when paired with intelligence, courage, and the willingness to act. Word of the humans' accomplishments reached every corner of the galaxy. Other species began to seek alliances, to study their methods, and to learn from their courage and creativity. Humans became a symbol of ingenuity, adaptability, and perseverance, a species that could face any challenge and turn it into an opportunity. As Lyria looked out over the city, she felt a deep sense of pride, not personal, but for what humanity represented. They were more than their appearances, more than the doubts others had held about them. They were capable of astonishing feats, not because they were the strongest, but because they refused to be limited by expectations. Marcus and his team continued their work, not for recognition, but for the opportunity to make a difference. They taught, led, and inspired, proving repeatedly that humans were a species to be respected, trusted, and admired. And through it all, Lyria remained close, observing, learning, and championing the lessons humans had shown her, that courage, intelligence, and persistence were the true measures of greatness. The duel that had astonished an alien woman became a legend across Viridian 7 and beyond. It was remembered not only as a moment of combat, but as the beginning of a new era, an era where humans were recognized for their ingenuity, bravery, and ability to change the galaxy for the better. And somewhere in the heart of every alien who had witnessed Marcus's actions, there remained a sense of wonder and respect, a realization that humans were not to be underestimated. They were unpredictable, resourceful, and capable of extraordinary things. They were a reminder that true strength was not only physical, but mental, moral, and enduring. The galaxy had learned a lesson that would not soon be forgotten. Underestimate humans at your own peril. Their courage, creativity, and determination could change the course of events, inspire generations, and astonish even the most experienced observers. Humans were more than survivors. They were innovators, leaders, and the embodiment of potential realized. And as Lyria stood beside Marcus, watching the twin moons rise over Viridian 7, she knew the truth she had discovered was universal. Humans were a force that could not be ignored. A species whose spirit, intelligence, and courage would leave a lasting mark on the galaxy for generations to come.